What's up guys, JV2017 here, and today I wanted to share my thoughts on the Division beta, which wrapped up earlier this week. Now that I've had some time to really think over my experience with the game, I have to admit I came away a lot less excited for the full release. And that's not a good thing. I actually canceled and refunded my $100 pre-order, which was the game plus the season pass, which admittedly I probably shouldn't have done in the first place considering Ubisoft over the past few years. So in this video, I wanted to summarize what I feel is wrong with the game and how it can or potentially cannot be fixed. Before we get into that, I do want to point out that I am rooting for Ubisoft. They used to make some of my favorite games, but they've stumbled in the past few years with games that did not live up to expectations or were shipped in an awful form, just not ready, for the public, such as Watchdogs or Assassin's Creed Unity. I want this game to succeed. I want The Division to be a great game. I just feel there are some clear issues that they need to address before releasing it. Now first I'm going to kind of start with the PvE side of the game and then move into PvP, because a big part of my complaints are PvP, but I'm kind of going to save that until after I talk about some of these other things with the PvE. So first off, the game feels really empty when you're walking around doing quests, going to certain missions. Obviously the missions are more instance, kind of like Destiny, how you would hop in your ship and go to a mission, and then there's a set amount of enemies and you have to encounter them once you get to the mission area. It's kind of like that in this game, but in between locations, between destinations, it's really sparse. In the PvE area, there's a few people walking around begging for food or just doing random things. Occasionally some people are robbing someone else and they'll become hostile and you can kill them, but that's about it. I feel like I spent half of my time in the beta just running around, and that's a serious problem. If you've got a game about shooting and looting and leveling up, and half of the time you're spending it walking around, that's just not fun. I mean, some games like Fallout get away with it because that's kind of the exploration of the game, but there's really nothing to explore, and I guess you could say that's kind of a function of the beta. We didn't have the full game to explore in, but in the beta at least, it just seems like it was too sparsely populated, and that was it. Just people begging and people randomly robbing each other, and that's all. And that just felt like a problem for me. There weren't enough enemies really to come across, and that's something I really want to see changed in the main game. I don't want to spend half of my time running around the map. I'm going to go more in depth on the Dark Zone and my thoughts a little bit later in this video, but also the Dark Zone felt really empty, and I guess the Dark Zone is the only zone in the game that should have an excuse for feeling empty. Obviously it's contaminated, there shouldn't be a lot of people just roaming around. However, there didn't feel like there was enough enemies. It felt really sparse and empty, just like the outside area. Now again, I think that makes a little more sense, and if you do add more enemies in the Dark Zone, you have a chance of enemies, spawning on top of players while they're trying to kill each other, with the rogue system. And I actually ran into that. I had a few times where, an enemy NPC would spawn and shoot me as, pretty much helping the enemy player that I was trying to kill that was rogue or I was rogue, pretty much, just screwing me over, just spawning behind me and killing me. That wasn't fun. And so you run into an issue there. I'm not sure how they can handle that. But the Dark Zone, I believe, does have an excuse to be a little more sparsely populated, but I don't think the PvE area does. And so if I were to offer a potential fix for this, I would say populate the PvE areas with more people. Either it's more NPCs that aren't hostile or more enemies. There needs to be more to do. I can't spend half of my time running between destinations. And in the Dark Zone, I guess I would say more enemies there too, but there needs to be a smarter spawning system. I don't want to have enemies spawning behind me while I am rogue and trying to kill someone else, or maybe I'm trying to take someone else out that is rogue. I don't want that to kind of mess with that gameplay. And it's kind of like, it's weird that they had the Dark Zone as sort of a PvE/PvP zone. You do have some enemies out in the Dark Zone that are tougher than any other enemies, which is fine. It's just they can't spawn behind people, but also they got to find this balance where, it's not empty. It doesn't feel like you're just running around in this empty place, and, you pretty much can run from one end to the other, at least the Dark Zone that was in the beta, and not see a single PvE enemy. There's no way that can happen in the real game. Of course, everything's going to be larger. We're going to have a lot more of a Dark Zone to encounter, so that may be fixed in that sense, but I just feel like there needs to be a happy medium somewhere. I'm also concerned with the Endgame Pve Progression. What is the point in the PvE world to getting to the highest level? What are we supposed to do when we're at that highest level? And I realize this is more of a cautionary concern because we don't know everything about the PvE yet. They're kind of, keeping that under wraps for now. But the focus of the beta was clearly on PvP with the Dark Zone. It had to have been because there was only one story mission that took 15 to 20 minutes, and that was it. And I got to a point where I had to play that over and over and over in order to get to level 8 and, be viable in the Dark Zone. So I understand if they wanted to keep it a secret, but the overall structure of the beta made it feel as though the Dark Zone was the end-all be-all mode, kind of the end game, what we're all shooting for at our highest level. Now that's fine if that is the end-all be-all goal, if that's the goal of the Division, is to have PvP as its final game mode where all of the highest end players, the best gear, the highest level are going to be, that's fine. It may not be my personal preference, which it isn't, but that's fine if that's what the game's about. But there are so many issues with the Dark Zone that I'm going to cover a little bit later in the video that, make it really concerning for someone like me. If the PvP portion of this game is not even rewarding or fun in and of itself because of its own issues, then why am I going to play the Division? Is there going to be some kind of PvE content that I can jump in with some friends and tackle some, NPCs, some bosses, some things like that? And so I guess my fix for this, or kind of a solution for this, would be to add some kind of raid modes, add some unique bosses that we have to go and take down and fight waves of enemies in order to get to it. It doesn't have to be that original. It could be just like Destiny in that sense, where you have to hop in with a certain amount of players, certain places you can't respawn. I know they do have that kind of function already in hard mode. There are certain areas where you can't respawn, where you have to start at the very beginning if you all die. I really appreciate that, but they need to have some kind of, activities, group PvE activities that you can complete. And this, again, is just a personal preference. I don't think the game has to have this if and only if the Dark Zone is polished. If the Dark Zone is a better mode with less flaws and more fun to play overall for everyone, then that's fine. Of course, if that's the aim of the game, then that's, the end goal. That's fun, that's cool. But if the Dark Zone is going to stay how it is with all of its flaws, then they need some PvE content to supplement that. And additionally, I think the game would really, benefit from a daily or weekly mission system, where it refreshes all the activities you can go out and do. Maybe that's something that's already going to be in the game that just wasn't in the beta, and I really, kind of expected that in the beta and didn't see it. So maybe that is something that's going to come to the full game, and that's fine and dandy, but I really think they have a lot to do with the PvE, or just a lot of explaining to do. Again, this may be still behind the curtains. I just think we need to know more about it. Something else that concerned me about a game with a bunch of looting is the guns that we're actually picking up. They felt really generic, and they didn't really feel unique within the gun classes. So I'm saying, like, if I were to pick up an assault rifle, use it for an hour, and then, get another assault rifle from a main quest reward or from someone in the Dark Zone, there wasn't much of a difference. Sure, they had different kind of generic names, like, an M4 carbine or carbine, and then like an M16 or something like that. But those guns didn't really shoot differently. I didn't feel a difference between those guns. It didn't feel like there was a bunch of, anything unique within the weapon classes. And it could be that we're just in beta. We haven't played a lot of the game. We were only capped at level 8. We didn't have, a ton of options in the beta. That's fine. But, I don't know. Is this something that's going to expand in the real game, in the full version of the game? I just think it would get boring to use the same set of realistic weapons in a game with looting. Sure, it's fine that we've got, shotguns, assault rifles, LMGs, pistols, marksman rifles. Did I say that twice? I just feel like there's not enough variety, at least right now. I feel like I'm going to go in the game and loot the same weapons over and over and over, and that's not really rewarding. That's something I'm not looking forward to, even if the stats are a little better each time. It was also very clear to tell that the Marksman Rifle was clearly the best weapon class. If you got a Marksman Rifle, you would be using that thing for the rest of the beta. It was just that good. There was very little idle sway. It's very easy to shoot, and it's totally the superior option at medium to long range. I mean, assault rifles were not accurate enough, and same with LMGs, to use at a long range at all. And I guess that makes sense. A Marksman Rifle should be good at long range, but it was also the superior option at medium range. And so assault rifles didn't feel powerful enough to take down enemies at medium range, or the LMGs either. And then of course at short range you can't use a Marksman Rifle, so at least it's not good at every single range. You would obviously rather take an assault rifle or an LMG, an SMG, at short range. But the Marksman Rifle was just, it was supreme above all other weapon classes. There needs to be some balance in there. And so really, I would say for this concern, in my opinion, they just need to have a little more weapon variety within the classes. I want some 3-round burst assault rifles, some 3-round burst SMGs, something kind of crazy and wacky. And if you look at other games that kind of, tackle a bunch of looting and whatnot, Destiny has some crazy ass weapons, and it may be that it's in, this futuristic alien setting. Same with Borderlands, crazy, insane weapons that were unique and fun to play. I just think this game would benefit from a creative variety of weapons a lot more than it has right now. Just some crazy, unique weapons that I really want to go after, that I really want to find, and I really want to use. My next concern is with bullet sponginess, and this is really an idea that I found while watching Total Biscuit's video on the Division beta, so I left a link in the description below kind of referencing that. He explains this a lot better than me because personally I don't have this problem as much, but I could see how it affects other people. So the problem here is that in a realistic setting like the post-pandemic New York with real guns, everything about this game is trying to say that this emulates real life. This is, if this happened, this is what would happen in real life. Why do enemies take a ton of shots to kill? Why does it take 30 to 40 bullets in order to take down an enemy? That doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it in a realistic setting. It causes this sort of dissonance because the expectation is that a few or, a single bullet would headshot somebody in a realistic game. And especially this is a problem because it's a Tom Clancy game. At least they put that handle on the front of the game. And in Tom Clancy games, historically, you got some one-shot headshots, or you only take 3 to 4 bullets to kill an enemy, especially with Rainbow Six Siege, which just came out a few months ago that I'm still playing and really enjoying. You would expect enemies to take only a few bullets to kill. Now you may say, JV, this game is an RPG. That's what Ubisoft is marketing as. That's their explanation for, shooting a ton of bullets at enemies. And I would, kind of agree with you, but I think it turns off a lot of people that have that expectation from a realistic looking game. This game is trying to be realistic, like I've mentioned before. It would be different if we were fighting aliens, or if we were way in the future, not just in the near future, or some kind of strange creatures. So again, we're going back to Destiny and Borderlands. Those games have, narrative excuses for enemies to take a ton of bullets. This game really doesn't. It's just, telling you, hey, this is an RPG, and that's why these enemies are taking so many bullets, but it really doesn't explain it. That's just kind of an assumed mechanic because, again, they market it as an RPG, a looting RPG, and so therefore we should just all expect that enemies will take more bullets. Again, if you want to hear a more in-depth analysis on this issue that kind of tackles it from a, an angle of someone who really does care about this, I would, recommend that you guys go check out that Total Biscuit video again in the description below. Honestly, I don't think there is a fix for this. They're so far along in the game. The game's coming out in just a month here. I don't think there's a fix for this. This is a core concept of the game, an assumption, again, that Ubisoft relies on the player, assuming, right? And so I think it just has to be accepted in order to enjoy the Division. If you're like, I shot this guy 5 times in the head and he didn't die, then obviously you're going to have an issue in this game, and it's going to be hard to be drawn in by the experience. And so if that's an issue for you, I think it's a hard thing to get over with. But if you want to enjoy the Division, then you're just going to have to. Finally, let's talk about the Dark Zone, and this is really kind of the center of my worry with the game. It really concerns me that the Dark Zone is in a state that it is now a month before release. And like I mentioned before, it's okay if the Dark Zone is the end game mode here in the game. If the Dark Zone is where I want to be with my maxed out character, that's fine. That's just a game design decision, and that's how the game, is going to be presented. And that's how it seems like it's been presented through the marketing and through, their social media and whatnot. It's all about the Dark Zone. The problem is it needs polishing. It really does need to be polished up in order for me, someone who really does prefer PvE content in a game like this, to really enjoy the Dark Zone in order for that to be attractive to someone like me. First off, if you decide to go rogue and that's how you want to play in the Dark Zone, you should not be able to stand around the entrance areas of the Dark Zone and just kill people. And you can do that. This encourages people to just camp around the entrances, and it's really unfair to most players who are playing the Division and going into the Dark Zone and are entering solo without a group. I would say most players are just entering the Dark Zone on their own and then maybe finding a group. And this is not okay. It's not okay for groups of rogue players to just camp around these entrances and kill people on sight. Just KOS, just immediately, boom, you're dead, and we benefit from that. The way this system is set up is that it encourages this. Obviously, if you're able to just sit at a certain location and have a constant flow of new players entering by themselves, that's where you would be. Obviously, that's the best method. The way the system is set up encourages this, and that's a serious problem. It's not okay that people can just sit around entrances and kill people that come in on site. And so really the fix for this would be to kind of ban rogue players from entering that area. You know, rogue players, if you're going rogue, if you're already rogue, you should not be able to be within like 50 to 100 meters of the entrances. It just doesn't make sense. That should be an extended safe zone for people that are just entering the area. Second, probably one of the most egregious issues is the most efficient way to increase your Dark Zone rank and obtain Dark Zone money or credits, whatever it is to kill one player and then wait it out. So for example, if I'm by myself in the Dark Zone, or say I'm with two people, let's say there's 3 people total, we kill one person near the entrance of the Dark Zone and then go hide in the alley for like 90 seconds or 60 seconds, however long it is for just killing one person. And the way we do that efficiently from a time standpoint over the course of an hour, if we repeat that action over and over and over, that's the most efficient way to gain rank and credits. That also encourages awful player behavior and camping around the entrances and just getting easy kills on players that are otherwise innocent or just unassuming. They're going around the Dark Zone looking for PvE enemies to kill. And I know you sign up for that when you go into the Dark Zone, but the way that system is set up just encourages people to kill one person and then go hide and wait it out. That's not cool. I think the system should be progressive in that it rewards the player or players significantly more rank and credits the more people you kill, and maybe even remove any bonus for killing one player. Let's say, you know, you are with your buddy, there's 2 people in the party, and you kill one person in the Dark Zone, and you find a dark alley and wait it out. Of course you would. That's the most efficient way currently at the moment. That's an issue, but maybe just remove the bonus for killing just one single player so we de-incentivize that behavior. We don't want to encourage the behavior of just killing one person and hiding and waiting it out. Maybe remove the bonus for killing just one player and start the bonuses at killing 2 players or more when you are rogue. Maybe that's a little too extreme. Maybe you should still get something for killing one player and going rogue and waiting it out. That is kind of an accomplishment, but at the moment it doesn't seem so because it's so easy. But if they don't do that, let's just say they go with a progressive system. This is how it would work. You kill one player, you get, for example, let's say 100, Dark Zone experience towards your rank and 100 Dark Zone credits. It's not that much, but it's okay. If you kill 2 people and then survive that timer, you get, like 400 of each or whatever, makes sense. The point is you don't want to supremely award players for only killing one and then hiding out and getting away. That's not fun. It encourages bad behavior. You should get rewarded if you're able to hold off, fend off, and fight off enough players while you're going rogue in the Dark Zone. That's quite an accomplishment, a lot easier than just picking off players one by one. Third, I don't believe players that are halfway across the Dark Zone in their particular zone. I think you guys know there are 6 total zones. We only saw 2 in the beta. I don't think people that are halfway across that particular zone should be alerted when you go rogue. Maybe they aren't. Maybe it's radius based and I couldn't really tell while I was playing, but that radius needs to be lowered. It's way too big. A ton of people in the Dark Zone are just there searching for rogue players to kill. And that's a fun way to play the game. It's kind of like vigilante justice. You're Batman, you're going out and you're killing the bad people. And that's fun. That's a fun way to play. But it's not fun on the receiving end if you're going rogue on purpose, trying to get rank or credit, because all of those players can see you in the zone, or at least a majority of them, and they're coming after you. So you may think this makes it easier for more aggressive players to succeed, but I also have a solution for that, and that brings us to my 4th thing I would change about the Dark Zone. The amount of rank and credits you earn should depend on how many people you have in your group. If you're running around solo and you want to succeed that way, you want to lone wolf it and not have to deal with anyone else, not worry about someone betraying you, you should gain a lot more from going rogue and surviving a manhunt. You're out there by yourself. That takes a lot of, skill and luck in order to survive that. So you should be rewarded a lot more. And on the flip side of that, if you're rolling in a group, it should take more player killing, more agent killing, just innocent killing in order to achieve a manhunt. So for example, say you're on your own, you're going rogue on purpose, and that's how you're trying to rank up and get credits. Let's say you kill 3 people. 3 people is the magic number. 3 agent kills is the magic number to trigger a manhunt. And if you've survived that manhunt, you should be rewarded significantly, I believe, because, it's pretty tough to survive a manhunt on your own. Let's say you add another buddy to your group, there's 2 of you. Let's say that manhunt, requirement for that to trigger goes up by 2. You need to kill 5 agents in order to get a manhunt. If you have 3 people in your group, you need 7. If you have 4, maybe bump it up to 10. You need to kill 10 agents in order to trigger a manhunt. And so the idea here is it really doesn't matter how many people you have with you. If you're rolling with more people, hey, tough luck. You're going to have to kill more people in order to get that manhunt, in order to be rewarded. At the current moment, you get rewarded the most by being with a huge group. And that's just really unfair for everyone else who either doesn't have Xbox Live friends to play with, or whatever platform you're playing on, doesn't have like an organized group they can roll with. Those players suffer because they're running into those large groups of people that are going rogue on purpose and just killing, triggering a manhunt, which is way easy to get when you have a big group. And, the cycle continues. That's just not fun. And this is a video game. You don't want to get shit on constantly. That's pretty much what's happening right now to solo players. So very simply, if you're rolling solo and you succeed, you gain a lot more from going rogue and surviving a manhunt. You gain more quickly. It's easier. However, if you're rolling in a group, it takes more agent killing in order to achieve that manhunt, and you still will get rewarded greatly for doing that. It's just going to take more effort because you have more people with you. So those were really the high points, the main concerns for me with this game, and that kind of turned me off by playing in the beta. I mean, there are some certain things that inherently turn me off about the game, but I'm not dismissing it yet. I'm still rooting for this game. They really need to polish some of the Dark Zone mechanics in order for me to be more interested in the game. It could be that a lot of these concerns that I brought up, had to come out through playtesting, and that's just the nature of it. That's why we had a beta. That makes sense. I just think that more PvE content should have been included in this beta, because they pretty much sent a message to everyone that the Dark Zone is it. This is the important mode, and that mode had a bunch of flaws, and they may have turned off a good number of players by locking off more than 95% of the story and not offering Radiant's daily side missions. I can't tell you why they decided not to refresh the side missions. If I did them in one day, why wouldn't those activities, come back for me on Sunday? If I got the beta on Friday, why couldn't I play those again on Saturday? I gladly would have, but I wasn't able to. I had to repeat the same mission, and that just gave a bad, taste in my mouth. And dare I say, it reminded me of Destiny, which is a game that relies on you playing the same content over and over and over again. I got tired of that. I don't want to do that with another game. So they should learn from that and make some refreshable daily side activities that have, a lot of variety that allow PvE players to keep playing their game without getting bored. So let me know in the comments below, how did you feel about the beta? What did you take away from it? Did it make you more or less excited for the Division as a whole? Were you excited about the possibilities, or were you disappointed about the restrictions like I was? Let me know. And also, how would you address these concerns? If you were, on the design team at Ubisoft Massive, how would you address some of these things? Let me know all of that in the comments below. If you made it to this point in the video, I'd like to give you a round of applause. I usually do upload kind of longer form videos, but they're tips and tricks, and I don't see this video getting a lot of views, but it's something I care about and something I wanted to share with you guys. So I appreciate that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click the like button. I would really appreciate that, and I hope you look forward to more kind of content like this, kind of sparsely on my channel, not too much, but I do have an announcement, a very special announcement tomorrow coming on my channel, so I hope you guys are looking forward to that. It's involving a second channel that I'm opening and will be, launching very, very soon. So once again, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.